Alright everyone, what's going on? This is Sheen Whitmore, will be the world's greatest barber. This is your haircut tutorial. Right now we're getting Jackson set up and getting him all draped up. Couple things to remember. If you notice that I went under his neck, that's always a great way to drape your client up because it is less threatening. Going over the neck is can be considered kind of like offensive, because it's almost kind of like a choking motion. So I always like going under the neck when I'm draping somebody up. All right. So one of the most important things that we're doing right now, and that's what you'll see me talking about, is the consultation. Consultation is probably the most important part of the haircut because you got to find out what your client is looking for. So I always like standing like directly behind my client or to the right of them. If they're right-handed, stand to the right, and just look at them and make eye contact. Nod your head, let them know that you're actually listening to them. So they're describing what type of haircut they're looking for. Always try to simplify it, breaking it down to really simple terms, going from short to long, seeing a little bit of skin on the sides to being dark around the crown. Those little things will kind of make your life a whole lot easier before getting started. And one of the key caveats of a good consultation is repeating back to the client exactly what they said that they're looking for. So example is, hey, I want my beard trim. I want my hair cut low on the sides, keep it long on the top. Then you'll say, hey, so you want your beard trim? You want to keep it low on the sides, a little bit longer on top. It When you repeat people's words, it conveys that you understand them and that you guys are on the same page. So, uh, So I wanted to show you guys, like, hey, in the shop you're gonna be surrounded by uh, great barbers to the left, to the right of you. One of the ways you can stand out really is by your consultation, making sure that you take out the time so you can give your clients all the stuff that they're looking for. And for while you have them in their chair, make sure that they're the most important person in your world, because that one client is feeding you. You could basically refer uh, uh, so many clients that will change your whole availability. So give your all to each of your clients that sit in your chair. So right now we're doing the beard trim. I got my Wahl Magic Clips out, and so we're breaking down. I'm taking off some of the weight with the one guard. Magic Clips, they actually have a guard that's lower than that one guard that um, it's like I want to say like a half guard. It's real thin. You see that I usually start off with that and then work my way down, but now we're just getting into the framing of the face. I always think it's easier to frame up your work area before you actually start going into your little finite details. So I got the Andis Slimline Pros going to work here, and you see I make my first line by the ear going straight down. I do this because not everybody has that square jaw. Some people have rounded or kind of oval faces, kind of like my man Jackson here. And so right now we're just trying to create some uniformity on the width that we're creating our lines with. So uh, what the way I look at it is that, hey, right now I'm framing his face, right? I'm framing the distance between his from his eyes to his ear and trying to get a balanced look for his facial hair, you know. And I'll always take in consideration. You can see at the top of his hair or near the crown, it is kind of light. So we have a little short distance of area. So you kind of want to see ahead of time where you're going to be making your angles and things like that. And if you're just starting out, don't worry about it. In time, if you follow these techniques, you'll start being able to see what I'm talking about more and more. But it just comes with repetition. And so one of the key things here to getting like a real nice beard trim is um, one, doing a lot of combing. Combing hair a couple different ways will get that line real crisp. And one of the things I'm really happy to let you guys know, and while I'm using Jackson here, because he has a very like resistant skin. Yeah, he used to shave with a razor, so it is sometimes very hard to get that real detailed, crisp look out of a beard trim for him because his hair is so resistant. But one of the problems is down under his neck, where you see where I'm cutting right now, he gets a lot of razor bumps whenever you use like a straight razor. So I'm going to be using Andis foil shaver to really clean up this area. And don't mind my don't mind my back arms. I've been in the gym a little bit. Had to show you guys. But um, this area is just our cleanup area. We're going to come back later, like on the top of the cheek, and use the shaver, and then we'll also define the line a little bit more with our straight razor. You know, so all this is we're kind of framing, connecting the mustache to the beard, and once again, I use the principle of this. I don't want the line that's coming down, that's connecting the mustache to the chin, to be wider or thinner than the mustache. You know, some cases you have to vary off depending on the hair that you're working with. But remember, you're one of the best things about a haircut is the uniformity. Whenever you can create balance and uniformity to a look and like a synchronicity where everything kind of flows together, you'll be better off. Just trust me on that. So we're we're doing the mustache, and we're just kind of lightly kind of tapping um, that area right above the mustache and between the nose. So I'm sure your clients probably won't do as much talking as my man Jackson did, but when you have a good clientele, great conversation, and you building a connection, um, that's part of being able to balance the conversation, getting your work done, um, finding out their needs, their points, um, and if you listen to your clients and ask good questions, they'll tell you about what they're most insecure about, what problems that they've been having with their haircuts, what how skin conditions, scalp conditions, things like that, which are all good because you're not only just a barber, you're a marketer, you're a problem solver. So you're a referrer of different products, and there's a lot of money in just providing a solution to an issue that somebody is going through. So, when your consultation will last throughout the whole haircut because you're going to be listening for key things, you know, uh, issues, problems that they may have having. Uh, Jackson, right, my buddy here, just got a new job, so that sticks out to me as a barber for many reasons because those things that are going on as life experiences, those are areas where I can connect with him, and so. Like when this was filmed, he was getting the new job. I went out and got him a congratulations card and a little small gift. This just to show him that hey, we're building a relationship that's bigger than barbering. And also, I put in a couple business cards just so if he had anybody that he wanted to share my my barbering services with, to please do so, so, and that's how it works. You connect with people, you appreciate them, you tell them thank you, and then eventually uh, they'll refer their friends and family to them, but they gotta know, like, and trust you. So now we're going here. We just finished the shaving. I'm breaking out some derby razor blades into my straight razor. And I'm just loading them up. It still just takes a quick second to do, but we'll get you all straight. So the idea is now that we've got him clean and we got his face looking good, we're gonna go back over his haircut with a straight razor. So if you could recall earlier that I I showed you guys the other barbers in the shop. You see, this all their chairs were occupied, and if you're a new barber or even an existing barber, one way to show off and showcase your work when you don't have a lot of clientele is when you do get a client and you're doing some great work, is to turn them around in the chair. Let the turn them to the other barbers. A lot of barbers sometimes are real static with their motions, so their clients are turned just one direction. So they're not watching themselves get cut, they're actually watching you. So in a way, it's kind of like your interview as well. So clients are going to be walking by, people are going to be walking in, and so I always like starting with the beard because it's one of the quickest ways to showcase my work and my competency. You know, if I get them looking good early on, every time somebody walks in, the haircut is not even touched yet, but they see this guy with a nice crispy beard trim, and they say, okay, this barber has some skills. So and it's great, especially if you have a client that's a talker. If you get the beard out the way first, then you're able to, ask kind of questions, do those type of things that are kind of what you're marketing, informing what products that you're going to be using. Give them um, give them a heads up about services that you're thinking about adding. Kind of get them to start thinking about services that they might want. You're kind of creating like a custom experience here, and you just kind of and you build on that every time. So we're moving up to the fade right now. So you see that I'm doing a lot of combing. So the combing is going to let me know, because not all clients are going to be forthcoming, or not all clients know that, hey, there might be a uh, skin or scalp condition going on with their head. Sometimes they have scratches or a little open sores. So combing through it is a great way to find out. And also, one of the things that you can see right here is that he has some dandruff coming off. So by me combing it out and seeing that, and it also brings it to his attention. But later on, what I did is I actually sent him an email of the 10 best dandruff shampoos that are out there, that I would recommend. And so when he buys those off of Amazon or buys, um, whatever he buys off of Amazon after clicking on that link, I get a percentage of that as well. So we're building up multiple streams of income and referrals all through this one client. So right here, we're taking our slim lines and we're just creating our guideline. Looking at his facial features and the way his head is shaped up, um, I'm going with a guideline that going balding him out and trying to keep it under his occipital bone, or kind of like that hook, you know, and because that's going to be my point of reference. So every section that I build in length that's longer than this is going to be uh, coming based off of this guideline. So right now we're just cleaning it up, you know. And the reason why we try to get it so clean, because the tighter we can get that fade towards the bottom, the better that fade is gonna come out. I promise you. It's a lot of barbers don't like to put a real hard line or get it super clean, and I understand sometimes those lines can be challenging to get out. But you see, whatever you put a line in, like I'm doing with my slim lines, uh, those are going to be the same ones that you use to get out. And actually, now we're getting even a little bit closer to accentuate the fade and accentuate the baldness, or basically just to make it pop out a little bit more. Uh, I like using, sometimes I throw in a big word every now and then, but uh, we're using that, and I'm actually lifting up right before I get to that line. That way it's not super bald, when I get there. It's a little bit easier to get that line out. So now I'm kind of falling back on a little bit higher with my bald area with my Andis slim lines. Yeah. So the technique that's important, and you might not be able to grasp it right now just because of the speed that the video is moving, is that when I'm making these my next guidelines, I'm not just going into the hair and just raising up my clippers into the next little area. I'm looking at a couple things. One, in my mind, I know how high I need to take this fade. So I know that I'm going to be going up, a few steps, at least two, at around a 2.5 or three, so I can bring in his sides with the baldness. But every stage or every section, we'll call them sections, for when we create a new guideline. Every section that we do, there's a scooping technique that comes at the top of that section. The reason why you scoop out is because that is going to make your transition to the next section much easier, you know. And you could do this with blades, the detachable blades. You could do this with an adjustable clipper. The technique is going to be what really brings your fade out, So when you get up to the top of that next section, you're going to be scooping out. So um, the good thing when you're working up the fade, you always know where, if there's a dark area or there's a area that's not blending the way you want, you know your length of that section, and you could go back and alter it or go lower when it needs to be lower, or go higher if you need to go higher. So one of the things that uh, I'm going to mention now, because later on it's going to be important, and you guys should definitely know this and get acclimated uh, to this principle with your clippers, is that every time you go with the grain, you leave hair longer. Every time you go against the grain, you cut hair shorter. So a one with the grain is going to look much longer than a one against the grain. And that's helpful to understand, because a uh, 1.5 against the grain, if you go down 2 steps to its equivalent with the grain is a 1. So it's always like a step or a step and a half difference between going against the grain and with the grain. And so knowing that, when you're fading, it will make your fades much more smoother. It will make your transitions much more easier, because now you're able to kind of manipulate the hair and understand where you're what lengths you're actually dealing with. So now it looks like we're opening the blade up. We should be around halfway open right now, and we're still following the same guideline. I still want to keep it the same, so because I want that fade to kind of drop around um, the that long part of his head, you know. And we're gonna try. Our goal is to get into a rhythm as well, to cut the comb, the cut, the comb. This really, getting into that rhythm really helps you just kind of stay on pace and stay on par, and it gets the clients really relaxed too, because it's all the movements are kind of like in like a synchronization, So one of the things that we're doing here, and a lot of people kind of miss this this fact is that when um, you're fading over different contours and different areas of the head, and no head is the same. I mean, a lot of times a head shape can change from one side to the other side. So you're gonna be feeling your way around the head using the clippers and to judge your areas and to judge your next fading zone, or to judge your next fading section, So keep that in mind, um, because some people will have a head shapes that gets really flat in the back, or it's very elongated in the back, and you want to be able to kind of keep your same consistency with your guidelines and with your sections. Okay, and I got the smallest guard that comes with the clipper. Um, I'll call this my O guard. And right now we're just still fading out that line. We're just moving up little by little, you know. So, so if now you can kind of actually start seeing this fade actually is starting to blend in with our top length. So you know that you're getting closer, and we still have a couple more blades to go. So uh, I'm really trying to make this area as clean as possible to make sure that I'm combing and going uh, as much against the grain as possible, because when I go against the grain, it's going to make that blend look so much better. And a lot of times, if there's a little dark area or a spot, it's just the fact that uh, the hair might have changed directions, and we just didn't hit it at fully against the grain. So now we're closing it up and going with the lowest guard with the grain. So I know with the grain that's like a one, maybe like a 1A. So to meet that area, to make it against the grain, it's going to be like a 1.5, maybe a 2. So just something to keep in mind. And as we go through more tutorials, I'll be breaking it down, the blade theory behind it. That way, and before no time, you'll be like, okay, I'm going to fade this. I know I'm going to need this clipper here. I'm going to be able to use this clipper here. I might not have a 4 uh, guard, but I could go a 2 with the grain. That's equivalent to 4 against. So you'll get the hang of that. So what we're trying to do here is get this faded area um, as smooth as possible. Now, eventually, what will happen when we go back and check our work or refine our work, we'll go and do a little clipper over comb to go to different spots and just directly target those areas that might have a little bit more weight, or I might feel like there's a little bit of a shadow there. But at this current stage, it's all about getting our uniformity and getting our spacing together, you know, and really working the technique. So don't worry about speed or time, especially when you're first starting off. Even if you've been doing it for a while, just concentrate on technique and just working that and enjoy the process of really seeing your technique create blends, and always check your mirror. I just gotta point that out to you, because the mirror will never lie. That is the rule. The mirror never lies. So if you ever have that, are wondering if there's a dark spot or how your blending is coming along, make sure that you're checking your mirror. Check your mirror often, and it will definitely help bringing out the best work that you have to offer. All right, so you see me going with the grain, and around this area, this is where his head bows out. So I really want to keep my fade, that darkness around that crown area, and below. So just still working that area out, and you'll see as I come back, I'll just kind of like focusing on this small little area to make sure that it lays down right here. So if this was a brand new client, uh, I would be, um, asking them kind of like some general open-ended questions. You know, um, if and that's only if the client really wants to talk. And one of the ways to find out if clients wants to talk or engage you in conversation, that after you do the consultation, um, they'll actually ask you a question. Hey, how long have you been cutting hair? What are you doing? You know, uh, those questions that they ask are perfect entryways to actually finding out more about them. You know, because most of the time when people ask you a question, how long you've been doing something or where, they're open to answering that same question back. And now you're starting to do the dance of the relation, building a relationship with this person. You know, so after you tell them about your history in barbering, uh, then you ask them about their experiences. And so, and while they're telling you about their experiences, maybe their family or whatever's going on with them, listen to the words that they use, the language that they use to describe different events, especially their their happy times and things like that. The reason why is because during this process, you're also learning their language. How do they describe what they're going through? How do they describe an emotion? How do they describe turn off these alerts here. But how do they describe their world? So if you find out and listen for the words that they use to interpret their world, then when you tell them about a product, when you tell them about a service, when you tell them about anything about your life, not only do they understand what you mean, but they feel a much deeper connection with you. All right. So now we have our two guard kind of cleaning up this area, and we're actually going to go from our two guard to clipper over comb. And right now we're just working the hair in the front, making sure that it can lay down. So that's why we're doing a lot of combing. We want to get this as smooth as possible, and in time and in skill, you'll see, and you'll almost have like a knowledge of like, yo, I could get this much smoother. So, and it just comes with work. And try, if you haven't started using clipper over comb, it's definitely a good tool to have in your belt. So still, as I'm using my clipper over comb, you can see around that crown area, where his head kind of bows out. I'm still trying to be mindful of that because I don't want to go too light, but I do want to make sure I give him the smoothest blend possible. That's why I use this white comb made by Oster. I'll put a link in here. I think it's one of the best combs out there, just because I'm using the comb to create, um, to make sure that I don't go into the areas that I don't want to, and I use it as kind of uh, like a shield to kind of like to shape the head. You see, when I'm doing this clipper over comb, I'm actually the angle is almost at like a 90 degree, almost like a parallel with the ground angle that I use for my comb. You know, because I'm just creating kind of like that boxy type of look with the fade. You know, don't really want to go in there. Don't want to, you know, alter the fade or alter the fade area, but I do want to give it some more uniformity and shape it up with that comb. So I rest the meaty part of the comb right there on that meaty part of the head. Important thing to remember when you're cutting, when you're fading, if something isn't giving you the result that you're looking for, say if you keep on going over an area and it's still not blending quite the way that you want, and you know that you're scooping out, that your technique is good, um, then it's you got to cut till you see a result. So if you might have to take your next smallest guard, open it all the way up, and then start working it down until you find the actual length that where you're cutting and you're getting the result that you're really looking for. So uh, it will take a little bit of time and a little bit of patience on some heads. So just be willing to go through the little process. You know, um, you know, and make sure that you're also uh, utilizing your time. You're building a great rapport while you have somebody in the chair, but you're also a marketer. This business is so much about your marketing. So take advantage of the attention that you got for um, um, uh, right now when you have somebody in the chair. Like I said, he has uh, a dandruff issue. So one of the things that I will be recommending to him is, hey, let me get you on my email list because I'm always sending out good information about how to prevent dandruff, how to take care of your body a little bit more. I want you guys to be separate from a lot of the barbers out here that are just transactional. I want you guys to build a relationships, because those relationships you'll be able to not only to cut him, to cut his uh, his future kids, uh, fathers, uncles, brothers, all those, um, but you become a his go-to person that he refers you to as well. And when it's time to sell and to upgrade services and things like that, you already have a a client that already knows and trusts you. So that's the real power of building up your email list uh, for the marketing side, but also just, hey, it happens. Sometimes things just don't work out in the shop that you're at or in the location, or you just need to, pack up and leave. If you have an email list already built up, it's very easy to uh, to pick up, send out an email, let people know that you're making some changes, and trust me, they will follow you. But you just have to keep in communication with them. So uh, we're doing some clipper over a little bit of clipper over comb. We're kind of going and fine tuning some of the little areas I see a little bit darker. Um, and see, I see this little line right here, and I'm not gonna be satisfied till I get that out. So I'm going up with my smallest guard all the way open, and I'm looking to see if I could get a result, kind of with my scooping technique, and making sure that I'm working against the grain of the hair. And now I kind of close it up a little bit more, and I'm starting to see the results that I'm looking for. All right, so now we got our fade locked in. we're going into the hairline. Now, the reason why I waited to get this hairline, to attach the hairline, because I knew that around the sides we were going to be getting a lot closer, um, with the hair on the side. So I didn't want to have extra hair that I was just going to end up cutting off anyway. So this is a lot easier to get uh, my cutting area clean, and now it's going to pop even more now that I have less hair to work with. All right. So my first line when I'm creating this arch is it's a straight line. So I have a straight line at the top of the arch, right by the temple. I have a straight line where his at the top of his beard trim. So once I have those two lines, then it's just uh, connecting those lines with the and being in giving it balance with the shape of his face. So I'm just trying to shape and like frame all his facial features. So and at this point, I want to be as detailed and get it even as possible. But I do know that if there's any hairs that are, kind of like not being cut off because he has like resistant hair, I know that I'm gonna still hit him up with the razor, and we're gonna go back and clean all that out. All right. So make sure you guys have a good angle so you can see everything. And so my rule of thumb when I'm actually lining somebody up, I'm actually not on these vertical lines. I'm looking at their eyebrows. You know, either the edges or kind of like the peak of their eyebrows are good reference points for me to shape their face, to kind of frame their face with. So one of the things that you guys can start looking at is, hey, look at the person's eyebrows, look at their facial features, because it's going to give you a lot of visual cues to where you'll be creating your lines at. All right. Once again, I love these Slimline Pros. I'm a big fan. If you watch some of my other videos of the Pivot Pros by Andis, but hey, I gotta say these clippers are amazing. Like almost like out the box with just minor like adjustments. Um, they've they just always overperformed and overmet all my expectations. So definitely check those out. Um, and save yourself a lot of work. And that's what having great tools will do for you. You know, when the better your tools are, the easier it is to get things done. The faster you can move through different processes. All right. So we're tightening up our line here. And I think we're gonna add a little bit of enhance as well, just to make it a little bit darker, especially with his light skin and so much dark hair. A little bit of enhance really makes his front hairline pop, and it just gives a lot more definition. So, but we'll get to that in just a minute. We're just finishing up our line. Very light touches. And I always say start off low. You know, try to keep your client's line as natural as possible. And if you know that it would look better if the line was pushed back or going up a little bit more, but it's a first time client, by all means, cut cut it low, cut it where it's natural, and then say, hey, let me show you in the mirror what your natural hairline looks like. This is it. Now, before I um, go any lower or push it back, I wanted to show you this because this is what I see. Now, if you're okay with this, and some people will be okay with it and say, "Hey, yeah, pull me all the way back," you know, or some people will say, "You know what? I just like how it is naturally. We'll just keep it there." So that is one of the things uh, to to remember is that it's all about communication. Talk to your people. You know, build a build up a haircut together. That way, you don't have to guess if they're satisfied at the end of the haircut is because they had a part in it. You know, and then next time they have full trust in you to do what you do. You know, but let me move out the way. Hopefully we get a nice good shot here. We're applying some Enhance. All right, so we're just not just spraying this bottle. We actually use some holding spray. I use a Tresemme holding spray, extra hold spray, and spray the area before I actually apply the Enhance. Um, Usually by the time I spray and apply it and we get through the haircut, it's already dried. So it'll give them like, a couple days just of having a more pronounced line. But it does wash off. So just FYI, so let your clients know. Okay. So what we're doing here with the clippers, actually the clippers are just kind of like um, pushing the fibers into like a straight line. You're not really cutting any more off. It's just a tool to help you kind of push the clippers, push the fibers into that straight line that you created. You know. And when we really want to make it pop out even more, we'll add the razor and move and clean up that area on the forehead, and also make that line real straight with the Enhance. Hmm. All right. Now that we got his front line in, now we're just doing some blending. Uh, we're just blending his sideburns in. So we start off with our Wahl's Magic Clippers all the way closed, and right by the top of the ear, we just try to blend that into the fade area. And as we work down lower towards the jawline, we will actually be open the clippers up, and then we'll get to one of our larger guards or a larger guard, just so it could kind of create that light to dark look on the face. So we're almost fading. We're fading out the beard as well. All right. We're just going back and doing a little bit of cleanup. We got the razor out. We got a razor defining our arches and our vertical lines as well. All we do is it's like when we just pull. Remember, wherever you're shaving, you're pulling the skin in the opposite direction. So you pull the skin one way, your shave stroke should be in the other way. I always like to shave this area, and especially there's there's usually like a little areas around the eyes that have like really light loose hairs. Getting those taken care of and getting those cut is one of the small details that will make you stand out as a barber. You know, just like ear hair, nose hair, hair on the back of the neck. Those are little details that really make you stand out as a barber, and it lets your client know that you're paying attention. So now we're dusting them off. Remember, um, it's not just the haircut, it's your customer service. Making sure and having a consciousness of, hey, yo, I want to make sure that you feel clean, you feel fresh when you leave out of here. And when you dust them off, you get to see if there's any hairs that might have been left. Okay, so I see some hairs on the neck I wanted to clean up. Some areas on the front of the neck where the neck strip was covering. So this is your detail. This is your detail work, um, and before you apply anything to somebody's um, body, you always let them know. And I'll let Jackson know, hey man, this might wake you up a little bit, or might sting a little bit. This might be a little bit cooling. Whatever it is, I try to prepare them and educate them on what the product is. Is more you talk about, more you educate. When you recommend products, they trust you as a source, and when they see an email or see an advertisement or something that you recommend, they know that you've used it before. You have a history. It just validates you a little bit more. It makes sales in this industry a lot easier when your clients are aware of the process. You know, and it gives them something to kind of brag about too. So we're just doing some shear techniques. Uh, you'll notice that I always try to keep my steel blade um, from moving. Just use my thumbs to move my my shears, and then we just um, go over the head. You know, we're not really touching too much on the top just because of the style of hair that he's working with. But anywhere that I can create uniformity, that's what I'm going to do. All right. So at the end, we're gonna get him undraped, go from corner to corner. That way, it kind of creates a pocket for any of the hair that that might got out or it might have fell on the cape, and keep it from all that hair from getting on his clothes. So, all right. One of the things you see here, always try to hand the client a clear mirror so they can see themselves clearly after all the work that you just done. You know, and it shows that you just take pride in what you do. So, that is my tutorial. You'll see that there's a lot of things that not only just go into the haircut, but there's so much more that you can take advantage marketing yourself. And if you want to market yourself uh, easily, correctly, and so in effectively, you know, go ahead and click the link. I'll send you some free information, and that way you can start on your path. Because being a barber is more about just cutting some hair. You're a businessman. You're a pillar in your community. You're building relationships, and there's a way to do that right. So this is Sheen Whitmore, and I'll talk to you soon.